Here is a belief that almost everyone shopping for a hybrid car carries into the dealership. Hybrids are less reliable than regular gas cars. More complexity, more things to break, more risk. It sounds logical. It is also wrong. And J.D. Power's 2026 Vehicle Dependability Study proves it with numbers that should change the way you think about this entire category. Conventional hybrids, the kind without a plug, average 213 problems per 100 vehicles. Gas-only cars average 198. That gap is close enough that it barely registers as a real difference. Battery EVs climb to 237. And then there is the number that should genuinely give every plug-in hybrid shopper pause. Plug-in hybrids score 281 problems per 100 vehicles. That is the single worst result of any powertrain type in the entire study, up 39 points in just 1 year. Consumer Reports backs this up from a different angle. Non-plug hybrids have 15% fewer problems than gas-only cars, while EVs and plug-in hybrids together generate 80% more problems than gas vehicles. So, the fear of hybrids is not entirely wrong. It is just aimed at the wrong target. The risk is not the hybrid system. The risk is the plug. And the best way to prove that is to look at two brands, Toyota and Ford, that have taken completely different approaches to hybrid engineering and trace exactly where each one succeeds and where each one falls apart. That is what this breakdown is. 7 hybrid variants to avoid, and 7 you can buy with genuine confidence, all built on the same data that the manufacturers are not putting in their ads. Before the worst list, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button, because this channel runs these numbers every time a major reliability study drops. And the next one flips this entirely and covers the hybrids that are outperforming even the best gas cars on the market right now. Starting the worst list. NHTSA issued a recall for a battery short-circuit defect on this model, carrying a risk of sudden loss of drive power or, in the most serious cases, fire. It landed on Consumer Reports' least reliable plug-in hybrid list for 2026, and its presence there is not a surprise to anyone who has been tracking Ford's plug-in execution. The Escape PHEV is a capable vehicle on paper. The plug-in hardware it is built around is the problem, not the car underneath it. NHTSA issued a recall for a DC-DC converter defect where the electric current rectifying module could be damaged during production, creating a risk of electrical short circuit. It is worth saying clearly, the RAV4 Prime is still a genuinely impressive vehicle, and plenty of individual owners have put 150,000 kilometers on theirs without a single serious issue. But reliability data is about statistical risk across a large population of owners, not individual outcomes. And the plug-in version of the RAV4 carries measurably more of that risk than its non-plug sibling. That sibling shows up later on this list, and the contrast is instructive. Torque News flagged it as one of Toyota's least reliable current models, and the reason traces back to the same pattern running through this entire worst list. Stack plug-in charging hardware on top of battery management software, on top of dual power source electronics, and you have a system with more failure points than the conventional Prius hybrid carries. Some Prius Prime owners will never see a problem. The data says the odds of seeing one are higher than they need to be, and higher than the non-plug Prius generates. Which appeared on Consumer Reports' least reliable vehicles list 3 years in a row. Here is the part worth pausing on. Owner satisfaction scores for the Power Boost remain high despite those reliability complaints. Owners love what the truck does. They are frustrated by the number of times it needs a dealer visit to keep doing it. That gap between satisfaction and dependability is its own kind of warning, because enthusiasm for a vehicle's capability does not pay for the repairs. And this one is the non-plug version, which makes it important for a different reason. The 2020, 2021, and 2023 Escape Hybrid carries documented issues including a door weld and hinge defect, where the door can open while the vehicle is moving, squeaky brakes, transmission problems, premature 12-volt battery failures, and persistent electronics glitches. The reason this matters is that it shows Ford's reliability gap is not only about plug-in complexity. There is an execution problem in Ford's hybrid lineup that shows up even when the charging hardware is removed from the equation entirely. Around 120,000 miles real-world data shows the hybrid battery becoming a genuine cost consideration. Replacement runs between $2,000 and $6,000, depending on whether factory warranty coverage still applies. Frame this correctly, and it is not a reason to avoid the platform. Toyota's hybrid batteries genuinely do outlast most expectations, but it is a cost that belongs in your ownership planning, not a surprise that shows up without warning. NHTSA issued a recall for a faulty rear seat locking mechanism where the seat adjustment can fail to lock in position, and the same model years were swept into a broader occupant classification system sensor recall affecting the airbag system. The Highlander hybrid platform is fundamentally sound engineering. These are the kinds of component-level failures that happen when a complex vehicle goes through rapid production scaling, and they are fixable. But they earn the Highlander hybrid a place on the caution list for those specific years. Now here is where the data gets interesting, because everything you just heard about plug-in complexity and execution problems disappears almost entirely when you look at what Toyota and Ford have done with conventional hybrid systems. The same technology, without the plug, tells a completely different story. .6 complaints per 1,000 vehicles across the 2022 and 2023 model years. That is the lowest complaint rate in the entire industry, not just among hybrids, among everything. The reason is straightforward. The Maverick uses a standard non-plug hybrid system with no charging hardware and no complex turbocharged engine layered on top of it. Simple, mature, and nearly bulletproof in practice. And its story is unique in this segment. Every Sienna sold today is a hybrid. Toyota converted the entire nameplate and eliminated the gas-only option completely. The current generation carries an average reliability score of 81 out of 100, earned a J.D. Power Segment Award, and saw a sharp drop in complaints in the newest model year. When a manufacturer is confident enough to make a hybrid the only version of a vehicle, and the data backs that confidence up, that tells you something meaningful about where the technology actually stands. Which shares its core hardware with the Highlander hybrid and RAV4 hybrid systems, and benefits from Toyota's more than 2 decades of continuous hybrid drivetrain production. The current generation Camry carried a J.D. Power Segment Award into its redesign. The engineering kinks in this system were worked out a long time ago, and the Camry hybrid is the proof. which rides on the same JD Power segment-winning Corolla platform and represents the simplest hybrid execution in Toyota's current lineup. No plug-in hardware, minimal drivetrain complexity, and a platform that has been refined over multiple generations. If you want the lowest risk entry point into hybrid ownership, the Corolla Hybrid is the honest answer. The non-plug version, which RAV4 enthusiast communities consistently describe as the most dependable configuration in the entire RAV4 lineup. Put this one next to worst number 2 on this list, the RAV4 Prime with its DC-DC converter recall, and the contrast makes the point better than any statistic can. Same nameplate, opposite reliability outcome. The only real difference is the plug. 2 decades of production, continuous refinement, and a failure rate that puts Toyota hybrid batteries in a category by themselves. The concern about battery replacement cost is real and worth planning for. The fear that Toyota hybrid batteries are fundamentally fragile is not supported by the data. Consumer Reports' own data shows traditional hybrids averaging 15% fewer problems than gas-only vehicles. Apply that finding to Ford's conventional hybrid models, separate from the plug-in variants that showed up on the worst list, and Ford's base hybrid technology comes out looking genuinely competitive. The Maverick is the proof case, but the finding extends across the conventional hybrid range. So here is what the data actually says, stripped of the assumptions most buyers walk in with. Hybrid was never the risky category. Conventional hybrids are more dependable than gas cars, not less. The real risk sits specifically in plug-in hybrids, where the added battery pack, the charging hardware, and the software stack required to manage both power sources is generating failures at a rate that neither Toyota nor Ford has fully solved. Toyota's 2-decade track record and Ford's Maverick prove the base technology is mature. The plug-in layer on top of it is where the problems live. If you want hybrid efficiency without the reliability risk, buy the non-plug version. The data does not frame that as a compromise. It frames it as the smarter choice. If this breakdown gave you something useful before your next dealer visit, hit the like button so more buyers see it before they sign. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next video goes the other direction entirely, covering the hybrids that are outscoring even the best gas vehicles in long-term dependability. And drop a comment with whatever you are currently cross-shopping, because there is a very good chance the numbers have something specific to say about it.